The speaker coming up now would be Dr. Dong Cha, and his topic is Achieving Reduced Rejection of Ornamental Crop Exports Through Systems Approach.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity to speak about this new project, and thank you for staying to the last presentation today. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about rejection. And I think some of you might have experienced your shipment rejected by California Department of Ag. And it would be nice that you don't have to worry about or deal with the rejections. So that's why we are starting this project. And we are actually at the very beginning of initiating this project. So I don't have much data, so my talk will be very short. But I will talk about our plan and also how we probably try to address the problem associated with the rejections. So I never done this, but today I will talk about myself a little bit to start my talk. So it's kind of weird. So before I moved to Hilo, I was living in central New York Finger Lakes area, and I was living on top of this Seneca Lake, small town. And around there I was doing a lot of fishing, and this was one of my favorite lake in the Cuca Lake, and it's pretty. It's very pretty, and it should look like this right now. And anyway, when I do the fishing, I usually go back to the same site. So I have several secret sites, and because I go back there because I know that I will catch fish there, and this is the same maybe mentality goes to the speeding traps. So we see the many policies waiting at the same site, waiting for people speeding, and they waiting there because they can give tickets to the people, right? And the reason that I'm talking about this is that this maybe is true for the inspectors. So once an inspector realizes that you're getting a lot of shipment from the same region that has a lot of problems and causing rejection, and then the inspector will start to paying more attention to look at those shipment and from the high risk area. And unfortunately, Hawaii is also already among the high risk area for the California. So our shipment probably already being way more scrutinized by CDFA, whether compared to some of the similar shipments from other areas like rose from Colombia or like other flowers from Netherlands. And this suggests me, I think it means two things. So keeping the producing the clean product and shipping the clean product will benefit the individual growers that trying to make their product clean. But this also will help the Hawaiian floriculture industry as a whole by improving the brand name of the Hawaii industry. So for this to be successful, I think it is important that all the growers and the shippers make sure that their product is clean before ship. And our goal is to help in that process to develop a systems approach that can ensure that producing the clean product and the low rejection rate. And this is actually an opportune moment, I think. It's a timely study because there has been much more interested in the effect of the invasive species on the ecosystems, and there has been many biosecurity programs that are starting in also mainland and also other countries. So what that means for us is that we can avoid the rejection of our product by not shipping to California, but that may be not a sustainable solution because other countries or other states can always enforce that similar program as the California. And so I think we want to address that problem while we can. And this is not very accurate data, but this shows that Hawaii floriculture industry or nursery industry has been about $110 million industry, and that was decreased to about 70 million like 10 years ago during the Depression. And it has been increasing slowly, but it was hit by the Hurricane Isaiah and it went down again, and it is now slowly increasing again. So our goal is to develop a strong and efficient systems approach that can guarantee when a grower produces growth product, the grower don't need to worry about the shipping their shipment product to other places because they worry about the rejection. And by doing that, we hope that we can improve the growth of the industry faster, and also we can recruit more younger growers to the industry. So how we are doing? So this shows the distribution of the CDFA interceptions during these 5 years. And this data was from the APHIS. And the x-axis shows the number of the rejections by different growers. And the y-axis shows the total number of the growers with that amount of rejection. And you can notice that there's a different ranges of the rejection from different growers, but mostly actually doing quite well. This is like 10 rejections over the 5 years. But this may be still the high enough rejection for the California. And one thing I'm not sure, I need to still investigate a little more, is that I was also looking some other reports from like 2011 from Dr. Arnold Zahara, and in the report, the total rejection from 1 year was around 1,000 rejections. And total rejection from in these 5 years is about 1,400. So I'm not sure if we are shipping more to the California before 2012 or if this is a different record. And one thing also I want to mention is that the CDF doesn't have all the record of the shipment by each growers. So we don't know if these 40 rejections are from 100 shipment or 1,000 shipment or 10,000 shipment. But we still need to, I think, improve the rejection rate. So to fix the problem, we need to know the problem. So this shows the number of the interceptions by each different crop types. So cauliflower has about 500 rejections over the 5 years, foliage about 800, and orchid about 150. And this accounted for from the 109 growers and total about 1,400 interceptions, which means about 13 reactions per grower over 5 years. But also there was ranges of the differences. And CDFA didn't have the record of either this foliage or orchid are cut or the potted plants. So this probably have both of the plant types included. And this table shows the groups of the pests or pathogens that causing these rejections. And what's interesting is that if you see these 6 groups of the pests, so scale insects, mealybugs, and ants, and aphids, and snails, and slugs, and thrips, they account like 80% of all the rejections. So theoretically, if we can control these insects or pests effectively, we can reduce the rejection by 80%. And this becomes about 3 rejections per grower over 5 years. And that should be much better shape for the growers. And also California will be much happier with these numbers. And this shows just another way that for different types of the plants, which pests are most prevalent. So for cutflower, the mealybug was most problem. And for foliage, scale insect was most problem. And for orchid, the thrips was causing most problems. And this shows in more detail. So all the cut flower rejections was caused by about 30% of all the cut flower rejection was caused by the mealybugs, and scales and ants and aphids caused about 15% of the rejection. And this shows that all the damages, all the rejections that caused by the mealybugs were found on the ginger. And the bird of paradise and heliconia was also a problem with the mealybugs. And the scales were most problem on the bird of paradise and ginger. And ants were problem on the ginger and heliconia. And aphid was ginger and heliconia and protea. So ginger is seems like a problem. I don't know if it's already well controlled or growers were just not controlling this, but I think we need to control the ginger. And this is the interception for the foliage, and scale was the most problem for the foliage, and then mealybugs and snails and slugs. And for scale insect was most problem on the tea leaves, and then palm and dracaena. And the mealybugs was more problem on the palm and tea leaves, and then dracaena. And snails and slugs were problem on the dracaena and palm. And this shows the orchid result. Similarly, thrips was the most problem, and there was a little bit of damage also from the mealybugs and ants and aphids. And for orchid, the dendrobiums are probably the most problem, and I'm not sure if this is that there's a more shipment of the dendrobium than other species, or dendrobium is just more like problem with the thrips or other insects. So those needs to be found out. So we recognize that these groups of the insects on these flowers or plants. So we will focus our control effort on these insects or pest groups and try to reduce the rejection rate by doing that. So how do we recommend this the treatment? So we are starting our project by recruiting 6 foliage growers and 2 blooming growers and 2 cut flower growers. And we already have 4 growers, and we are still recruiting 1 foliage grower and 1 blooming plant growers. And I just showed that what insects or pests are causing mostly rejections, and we got data from these agencies, and all these records will be kept strictly confidential. And so which control to use? So fortunately, Dr. Arnold Hara has worked a lot on this area, and he developed a lot of pre-harvest and post-harvest treatments for different types of the pests on different plants. So for this project, we will first focus on those protocols to develop the system approach, and then decide if we need some additional treatment to fix the problem. So just to give you some little more idea on the systems approach. So quarantine security has been traditionally met by using some strong post-harvest treatment. So, and to achieve the really low level of the pest, this treatment was often used at very high dose that has some negative impacts on the crop quality. So over time, it gradually switched to systems approach, where the insects or pests are controlled before at the pre-harvest processes and at different post-harvest processes. And when these all come together and work together, we can achieve the quarantine security, and in this case, we get the pest-free plant products for shipment. And this shows the systems approach in different ways. So this is a traditional way. You have single, very strong treatment to knock down the insect pests, which may have some negative impact. And in systems approach, you have multiple control points. So although the treatment is not as strong and not as effective, but you can gradually reduce the pest pressure and not have as many, not have the negative impact on the plant. And the system approach can be also redundant, so you don't have so although you already reached your target pest level before your final treatment, you can keep this final treatment to ensure the low level of the damage. And if you're really sure, you can also eliminate those processes. So system approach doesn't have to be more difficult than the traditional method. So for this one, we will figure out, so our next step will be figure out and recommend the best management practices for different crop systems. So our project has 5 objectives. So first one is to recruit at least 6 growers, and they will participate in activities like field visit from the regulators and maybe inspectors and other growers. And basically these growers will serve as a teacher for other growers. And working with these 6 growers, we will develop a systems approach program for them to demonstrate fewer rejections. And then we'll train at least half of the HFNA members and stakeholders. We are using many different methods. And we were also working with the new extension agent that to be hired. And then we will also inform the ornamental industry for the tools and resources required to achieve our goal, and how to obtain those tools and where to obtain those. And then finally, we will survey members to determine if there's an increase in the confidence to participate and also interest in participating in this program. So we expect the potential outcome to be like to develop the comprehensive and economical system approach programs that can reduce the rejection from participating growers to the below the limit threshold that caused the suspension of the limited shipping permit. And also they can reduce the losses in product, freight, and customer services due to rejection. And also the program that can improve the perception of Hawaii excellent by the other inspectors. So for future direction, we will showcase these findings to make and to ultimately promote industry-wide participation from the to the new program. And we hope that this initiative will contribute to expanding the ornamental crop industry and cultivating the next generation ornamental crop growers of Hawaii. So this is all I have to say today, and we are still recruiting this 1 foliage and 1 orchid grower. So if any growers interested and might benefit from this project, please let me know. And thank you for listening, and I'd like to thank our funding agency and our collaborators. Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
You mentioned in your presentation that you would like to get 150 HFNA members to train, and that you're going to come up with a systems approach that can be presented to HFNA. Do you have a timeline that you could share with us, and how can we parallel with you, like as Eric mentioned earlier, to achieve this goal?
So this is about 2-year study, and I hope to finish at least developing the systems approach part by 1 year or little more than 1 year. So the training part will be happen after maybe 1 year, first year of this project.
So training as far as a video?
Video, a meeting, and email, like yes, some newspaper, no, like literature, like yes, yes.
looking at the statistics, it's clearly that ginger presents the greatest challenge to being clean, and something that we've dealt with for many years. And years ago, we worked with Dr. Har. We worked with the hot water dip,
Right.
which we've been using religiously, and we still get rejections, but we know that it's because the inspectors saw a bug and didn't realize it was dead already. But and early on, as I say, because we had a USDA inspector on site examining every piece that went through the process, and he found 0 live bugs. How prevalent is that process being used? I know we've been using it for a long time, but are others using that system?
The growers that I visited using the hot water to wash the
Big part?
the growers I have visited,
Have been using it.
using,
Although I'm finding in Maui that I don't have a lot of people that are adopting that. It's actually coming back in with their whole rat lungworm. They've been looking at the hot water treatment again. But especially with a lot of the flower growers in Hana, they were not using the hot water treatment. And now there's discussion about using it even for inter-island transport, because we don't want to be exchanging pests between islands either. I was curious, is this project statewide?
we're
it just
kind of working with the Hilo growers, but
Well, if you want to work on Maui, just let me know.
okay. Yeah, and if some growers is not using the hot water, that's what we can
Yeah,
also maybe
yeah.
train
I
and
mean,
provide.
I'd like to, definitely talk to you guys about the hot water treatment, because I think the knowledge is there and people know of it, but I don't think it ever got really implemented beyond the Big Island and maybe on Oahu. I just don't see it as prevalent on Maui.
Yeah, so some of the part will be involved in making sure, even though some growers may wash with the hot water, but maybe the technique is not
Maybe the
complete.
techniques are right.
So so training also involved.
Right, and if it didn't work maybe the first time when they did it, or they didn't see the value in it, then maybe it didn't get translated, the value.
Yes.
Well, that's a good question, because HFNA is a statewide umbrella group, and we have over 300 members. Maybe one thing we might consider is not sending any gingers to California and putting an extra anthurium, maybe. You like that?
Are the Maui growers exporting the mango?
There's some that are, but I think just, especially with the whole rat lungworm scare, it became evident that even transporting, heliconias and gingers from Hana to Kahului, people were finding slugs in that. And we didn't want movement of the semi-slug from one place to another. So for us, I think it's just something that needs to be a practice regardless of whether you're exporting or not. If you're moving material anywhere, you need to be treating it so that you are not potentially spreading any pests or diseases.
Okay.
I think just a comment maybe, Cynthia, I think because of all these concerns we have, whether it's intra-island, inner-island, or export, I think our growers probably need to be aware if they're commercial, they should be doing a rodent control, a slug control, a fire ant control on property anyways. And that, like if you control your ants, you probably will control quite a bit of the
Yep.
invasive pests on the product, such as tropical flowers and foliage, which would cut down, I think, tremendously.
I mean, I
the
get lots
risk.
of requests for IPM, teaching IPM, just basic training in IPM management for various growers and new farmers. So I definitely think that we need to it needs to be a standard that everybody gets raised to, that we all operate at this certain level of quality and sanitation.
Well, I think maybe that part of it is just informing that we as an industry do not want to be getting famous in the media for spreading invasive pests. And whether we spreading slugs or fire ant, yeah, we just gotta be, it's just, we cannot be casual anymore. We have to spend a little bit more money and labor to control, you know, our property, yeah, keep control on our products. We just gotta, I think, that's I think a good message, I think, for our members.
Yes.
Yeah, this is my last question. At one time, Hawaii, with the cooperation of the Department of Agriculture, had a OIP, or Origin of Inspection Permit, whereas California would not randomly reopen our boxes again and check them. It was kind of like a seal of quality kind of thing. So that may be one route that we might consider taking with Department of Agriculture to look at that OIP stamp again.
Okay. Yeah. So is that like related to like QC 650?
It's another stamp besides the APHIS limited permit stamp that us to export put on our boxes before we ship them.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the QC 650 would be more specific to very
Very
chemicals.
nematode.
The BRN.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, once you qualify under that DOA program, then normally California would look at the stamp and say, okay. But then, of course, you know, they can open it if they want to. Yeah. So you gotta be safe because randomly they can check. The OIP program was sort of giving us that somewhat that leeway. If the inspector saw the stamp, they wouldn't bother with it. They would go inspect something that's not certified.
And to adjust Cynthia's concerns, I know there still are commercial growers who are washing their flowers in insecticidal soap. So maybe that can be like a minimum, yeah? If you're just shipping statewide or something. Or even island-wide, maybe.
You know, the applying some protocols that apply to food, that maybe can post-harvest treatment for food, would it apply to flowers such as radiation? I mean, you can dose map something and then, has that been thought of?
So radiation has been done a little bit, and that was, I think, a little too damaging to the flowers. And actually, I'm working on fumigation, new fumigation technique, so using ethyl formate. So hopefully, that is not too damaging to the flowers.
And one more thing to add to Eric's one, ideally you wanna grow your crop in the field and maintain in the field, yeah, to minimize the pest problems coming in. I mean, that's the ideal world, but you know, not how that goes.
A challenge that a lot of us have is that a majority of our product is acquired from independent growers too, so
Yeah.
administration that is really challenging.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to just see it. I think that if, because I'm not for about imposing more regulations to make it happen. I'd like to see it more voluntary in the sense is there a way to elevate everybody's training and knowledge of the situation so that you see the benefits financially, that there's an incentive for people to want to adopt these new management techniques. And so I think that's I'd rather go for the carrot. I have kids, and so I'm more about the carrot. And I think there's ways that if we can entice growers with the financial benefits to, raising that quality of sanitation and management, then we can get more participants. Maybe I'm being optimistic. I don't know.
Last comment, and I guess in
Yeah.
regard to what Cynthia said, I think that's what we may find out. I mean, when you work with, what is floral research as opposed to floral exchange, it's, we buy from a lot of independents, and we don't have
Right.
I want to say the partnering as we should, let's say. So with your help, if we could get to some of the growers that volunteer, participate, we can come up with a program, yeah, because right now our cost is about 25 cents a minute. So to clean a large foliage or a dirty tropical flower, if you spend 5 minutes to clean an item, you already got 125 plus cost into it. The difficulty to sell something at a margin that you need is going to become very, very difficult. So at a certain point from about where we are now economically, our growers, if they want to stay in the business as a family business and sell and not export, they really need to realize that we're at that point where we probably will spend more if they do the pre-harvest treatment in the field.
I
And then they
think,
can
yeah.
benefit on the back end. Right?
Yeah. So that will be our plan for this.
Yeah. So then we'll create like a communication and educational component to help some of these independents who don't see the economic benefit, but they could experience that working with someone who buys their flowers on Maui. But the person on Maui, like the people here, got to realize that it's just a business decision. Yeah. We'll pay you to clean it, to take care of your field. We need the product to purchase to export, but when we get your product, it must be really close to export ready. Well, we cannot pay the higher the cost. Yeah, it's just cost. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was curious with the systems approach, when you're talking about doing the systems approach, are you going to have an economic component to the systems approach too? Because that would be just really valuable for them to see that where you, and it also leaves some choices up to the growers to where they want to make their changes that
Right.
best meet their needs.
Yeah.
for
So
what they're-
yes, there's plan of that quantifying economic. A little bit of that too. Okay. Thank you.